Welcome into episode 18 of Hogs on the Hill, your go-to podcast for in-depth dive into all things Arkansas Razorbacks. Join us as we dissect the victories, analyze the plays, and revel in the spirit of the Hogs. Episode 18 is brought to you by Homefield. You can step into the legacy of collegiate style with Homefield's premium vintage apparel. Embrace the spirit of your alma mater or even your favorite team with their meticulously crafted, comfortable, and stylish collections for several NCAA teams. Elevate your game day attire and celebrate the rich history of college sports at Homefield, where tradition meets modern comfort in every stitch. Variety Sports in all caps for 15% off that first order. Go check them out. They're releasing new things every month, every few weeks or so, and they've got a great Arkansas collection to check out. From bomber jackets to hats to hoodies, T-shirts, they got it all. So go check them out today. And we'll jump in we'll go around the league from last week 3 results. And the big one to talk about is Georgia squeaking out Kentucky 13-12 in what was a game that, honestly, Kentucky probably should have won this game.
Yeah, I think if they call a little bit more aggressively on a couple of those fourth downs where they ended up kicking it, if they could have stolen an extra, possession, if you will, off of that, they'd have had a better shot. Georgia got lucky. That's just all there is to it. Granted, it makes me feel better about the Hogs not playing that well when you have teams like Georgia who are, at the time, the number 1 team, now the number 2 team or whatever, just based off the poor performance. But good teams, great teams, even, legendary teams can have a bad week. So maybe, that was kind of what bit us as well against UAB. Granted, we came away with a win, just like Georgia did, but we didn't play well. But this is something for people to keep in mind. Other teams have off games too. They easily could have lost this game very, very easily, and that would have completely shaken up the college football world. Still could have had a chance to make the playoff with it being 12 teams and all that, but having a loss on your record when you're supposed to completely dismantle the SEC, that would be wild. So it gives, I think, Hog fans has been going crazy on social media this week that we didn't play well and Talon, his completion percentage is horrible and all that. Teams just like Georgia who have 5 stars at basically every position can have weeks just like that too. Not always the players. Sometimes it's just not your day. So there's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Next, you have Texas beating UTSA 56-7, and what was an amazing showing by Arch Manning. I'm guessing he's going to get the start this week against UL Monroe with Ewers nursing that injury. You don't want to rush him back too fast. So you'll get to see your first start of Arch Manning and see what he looks like when, he gets to play the total game. I'm interested to see if he balls out another week. Does Texas have a little bit of a quarterback controversy on their hands?
So I don't think they do, but I think they are the exception right now in college football where you've got a quarterback that's that good, that's being developed behind another really good quarterback. That was the norm for years and years and years in college football, especially at, powerhouse programs, Alabama, Texas, Georgia, you name it. It's not the norm right now with somebody like Arch Manning that's that caliber of a player. Generally is going somewhere where he can play right away, make the most money right away. But I think Texas's NIL situation provided a means for him to go to the school there, develop under Ewers last year. I think he's made a tremendous leap between his freshman and sophomore year, just off some of the plays we saw, in garbage time last year of him to this year. My gosh. Granted, it was UTSA, but he looked outstanding. A Manning that can run, it's terrifying. Everybody's seen some of the highlights that he had. He looked great. Does that translate to SEC play? Who knows? But he looks a lot better than he did last year, and he looked good last year too. So, to your point, I don't think they've got a quarterback controversy because I think Quinn is still the lock starter just based off of experience and things like that. But they're set at quarterback for quite some time, it seems to me like.
Yeah, that's very much so. Next up, you've got Alabama, getting back to their normal selves, winning 42-10 on the road at Wisconsin, kind of finding their stride under Kalen DeBoer. They're one of 2 SEC teams along with Georgia that has a bye week this week, so that they get a break before they play each other in next week, what is almost a clash of the Titans kind of meet up. Number 4, Alabama, number 2, Georgia. should be a good game. You had Ole Miss going on the road beating Wake Forest 40-6, another game that you kind of expected that a little bit. The game that me and you had our eyes on was Missouri and Boston College. Missouri gets the win 27-21. A game where, yeah, close game. I said this earlier in the week on Saturday Showdown. I said, I'm not saying Missouri's not a good team. I just don't think they're number 6 material right now. Get back with me later on the season. Do they kind of go through the season and take care of business? They have to play Alabama here in a few weeks. So what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a prime argument. I think the thing is there's not any other teams out there really across the country that are vying for that number 6 spot away from Missouri. I mean, you got teams like Notre Dame that could have, but then have big losses. And so Missouri's kind of crept their way up the rankings just because they've been winning the games they need to. So props to them on that.
Yeah. As we keep going here, Tennessee takes care of business home over Kent State 71-0. He's come out and I think surprised a lot of people on, just how well he's doing in his first year starting. Oklahoma takes care of business at home over Tulane 34-19. LSU goes on the road, beats South Carolina 36-33 late in the game, where South Carolina probably should win this game, but LSU got lucky there and some penalties and things of that nature.
Yeah, 100%. Funky game. I thought both teams actually had spurts that they played well, but was a surprisingly better matchup than I anticipated. I know we had talked about, I think I'd actually picked South Carolina to win that game, and I think they should have, but got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
There were some coaching mistakes, in my opinion, in that game that costed them, but they did play well.
Yeah. Next up, you have Texas A&M going on the road to beat Florida 33-20. Florida just absolutely looks terrible this year. I tried to give them another chance to redeem themselves, picking them to win the game at home over a struggling A&M team. A&M, runs out another quarterback that looks pretty darn good and, could be the next new starter while Wegman's out or even when he gets back healthy. Florida, I think they just have to chalk up this year too. It's going to be bad.
They're going to be bad. Yeah, I hate that we don't play them. But biggest thing I think there was Texas A&M's defense has been decent all year. They flexed that a little bit, and then they did find enough offense to really, rack up some numbers on the scoreboard. So Florida's just bad, though. I mean, let's be real. They're going to fire Napier. I'm not. It hadn't been come out official, has it? But it's in the works that they're trying to fire him, I think. We'll see how long that takes. But, I mean, he's in a hotter seat than Sam Pittman. We'll just say that.
Yeah, with the talent and the money and the boosters down there in Florida, there's no reason that they shouldn't have the success that Florida typically has and what they're used to in the years. You think about the Tebow years and, the Spurrier, Dan Mullen, some of the success he had down there as well. So I think that's where everything's coming from as far as the frustrations and there's no lack of talent down there, but I guess coaching and the way it's being utilized is not sitting well with Florida fans. As we continue, the surprising one here, Georgia State upsets Vanderbilt at home. And, I was hoping we'd see an undefeated Vanderbilt going into this week versus Missouri, but we didn't get that. Vanderbilt did the Vandy thing. Lost the game they probably should have won.
Yep. I was going to say Vanderbilt's going to Vanderbilt, man. I'm not going to say I was high on them, but I was amped up that they were looking better than they had in years past. And I thought this was an easy win, but trap games can get you, dude. I think they might have been doing the same thing we were in looking ahead to next week's game against Missouri and got caught by a trap game opponent. So, maybe they'll bounce back and have a good showing against Missouri. I think they're better than they have been in years past and maybe can compete more. Still don't think they're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll agree with that. And then up next, our Arkansas's opponent this week, Auburn, got the win at home 45-19 over New Mexico. And then finally, Mississippi State falls in that same tier with Florida. They just do not look great this year. They fall at home to Toledo 41-17. So they didn't lose a close game. They got blown out at home by Toledo.
Yeah, so to me, this is I know it's his first year, but this is dang near a Western Kentucky type loss that got Chad Morris fired. It would have been one thing to lose this game because Toledo's not bad. I may have even picked Toledo to win this game, actually. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and remember what my pick was. But anyways, I figured this would be close, but I thought Mississippi State, would not lose by 20. So yeah, that's pretty rough. And I think the only, silver lining is that it's Levy's first year there. So you probably got to give him that. But that's almost a Western Kentucky level of a loss.
Yeah, I agree there. So, that's your SEC wrap up this week for how week 3 went for the rest of the SEC. Arkansas gets their win barely over UAB. In case you missed it, go check out our recap from Sunday. But as we jump over now to a thing that's been trending this week in the world of NIL and Arkansas as they continue to struggle, and I want to use the word plead with, Arkansans to come and donate. And I mean, Hunter Yurchek's NIL comments, over 1 million views. What do you think of this, Seth? Do you think that was appropriate, or do you think, Yurchek was out there borderline begging for, Arkansas fans to come out there and give extra money on top of, you think, some Arkansas fans that are already season ticket holders, you're paying a donation, a foundation donation on top of your season ticket prices?
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts too. We could really get into the weeds here. First off, I want to talk a little bit of statistics. Arkansas traditionally has some of the highest prices, if you will, for our tickets, for our concessions. We have some of the highest revenue per game, per fan, if you just look at the SEC statistics for home games. So it already feels like Arkansas fans have to pay maybe more than some other SEC team fans just to go to a game and get a drink and get a snack and whatever the case may be, especially if it's season tickets, the donation packages and things like that you're required to make before you're even eligible to buy those season tickets, things like that. So you got to think about that. There's that. On the flip side, I don't disagree with Hunter's comments, though. I'm just not sure I agree with his solution that he brought up at the end. I don't know if that was the right time and right place to say that. I'm totally fine with him bringing up the statistic that, okay, hey, everybody wants us to be competing with Ole Miss. They're number 5 or whatever they are now. They have 5,000 members in their NIL collective, where we have roughly 1,000 in our NIL collective. Fair enough. Say that. That's fine. Say that. That's fine. Say, hey, we need to get some more, memberships and ramp up our game in our NIL collective, the Arkansas Edge collective, to more appropriately fund our football team and, adequately compete in the market for these players that are going to Ole Miss, going to Georgia, going to Alabama, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Totally fine with that. But the notion that there needs to be 10,000 households out there that donate $100 a month or whatever, that's $1,200 a year. Granted, fine. I mean, if you're capable of doing that in your household, more power to you. I just don't know if the way he kind of phrased that in that moment after saying what he just said, to me, it almost felt like begging. I mean, I don't think he was begging. I think he was trying to throw out, just an example of, what could get us over that hump. The thing is, though, is like, as Arkansas fans, you're already paying a lot of money to go to games, even compared to other SEC programs, especially compared to other programs that are kind of in our same power index ranking. So that you got to, I think it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because of that, frankly. It's like, hey, man, I think people would be a lot more prone to donate and want to donate more if what they were seeing on the field was a little bit better over the last couple of years, especially thinking back, just the past 10, 15 years or so. It just hasn't been great. Let's be real. We haven't been upper echelon SEC. We've been lower echelon SEC, borderline, not even SEC caliber, and so for us to already be paying upper echelon SEC pricing for the majority of the things we do, to me, it just felt a little bit tone deaf, maybe. Granted, I think there needs to be better utilization of the collective, or better participation in the collective by people who can, by businesses who can. I know there's certain regulations on what type of donations are allowable for businesses versus just individual households, things of that nature. So there's a little bit more than just meets the eye when it comes to that side of things. But I don't know. I felt like the way he said the last portion of it rubbed people the wrong way, and it's blowing up in media for obvious reasons. But I've got mixed feelings on it.
Yeah, I agree. What it reminds me of is those TV info type commercials where, it pops up for only 10 cents a day. You can feed this person in a third world country. Like that's the type of vibes it gives me when he phrased it, especially that phrasing. But to your point, Arkansas fans that are already going to games, your ticket prices and everything are already one of the highest prices in the SEC to begin with, which makes no sense. If we were like maybe in Alabama and had that type of success, maybe, but we're not. And from personal experience, Saturday, me and you were both at the game. I went to the concession stand. I got a drink in one of the cups you can take home, a bottled Powerade, a pretzel, some cheese, and some M&Ms. $30.
Yeah, 2 beers was like $28.
Yeah. So, they're making money from those concession stands and, everything. Not to mention, we saw the debut of 2 certain big giant corporation logos that are here in Arkansas on the field, where it was announced they signed multi-year deals for that sponsorship. So you got to think there's money coming in that way, but yet you're turning around and going out and asking our Arkansans to pay $100 a month. I mean, like you said, it doesn't sit with me well or rub me the right way. Plus, if you noticed, and for you guys on Twitter, you'll probably notice the amount of players I saw put out very similar tweets about NIL. It's like they were all instructed to do so. Like they were all very similar tweets, and maybe a little bit of difference in wording between them, but they also, had that come through. And just even 3 hours ago, Yurchek tweeted a few hundred new members have joined Arkansas Edge NIL in the past 48 hours. So he got to some people, but
well, I was about to say that he may have look, Hunter has been notorious for strategically saying things that do hype up the media. Even bad press is still press in a way. So I guarantee you that video is reaching more people than if he would have phrased it nicely, frankly. And so it's getting out there. That part of it did its job. Whether you get, more or less people to sign up than if he'd have done a different strategy, I don't know. But it's definitely getting out there. And obviously, as Pigpen's commented here, it's over 1 million views. That's a lot for it to be just an Arkansas-centric thing. Granted, this has made waves outside of Arkansas. But the part that worries me is you have, things like this happen. And then the next day, Tennessee, unveils that they're going to start adding a 10% per ticket fee
for visiting fans.
Yeah, a talent fee. I think it's for home fans too. Is that not for all tickets?
I'm not 100% sure.
I need to read the fine print because I've kind of only seen the headlines, frankly. So I may not be reporting just the most accurate news, but there is some form of 10% talent fee that's going to be tacked on to Tennessee's home game tickets, their ticket sales. Yeah. And that is directly going to go to their NIL fund. So, you have stuff like that happening. Everybody else is going to follow suit. If you don't, you're going to get left behind. Hunter just said it.
Yeah.
They've got the market. If they do something like that and they're getting 10% on every single ticket, think of some of the tickets that are, $400 or $500 a game for club seats and things like that. That's a lot of money, which is, personally, I would almost rather the money be raised that way or something similar then it'd be, okay, let's ask for this. But then we're also going to do ticket fees, and then we're also going to have A, B, or C or other thing. I mean, that really does start to open up the question of like, okay, how far is this really going to go before we start to see some type of, not necessarily a cap, but I don't know, limitations or a different structure on how players are able to be paid. I've always advocated that the universities should not be able to use any type of collective or donation funds to pay the players. The players should be able to make plenty of money off of their endorsements, YouTube channels. You think back to the kicker that got kicked out of football in college because he had a YouTube channel. I can't remember his name.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Destroyer. Guy, he's a super famous guy. He was making money on YouTube, and so they didn't allow him to play college football. This was 10 years ago or so. Somebody like that, make as much money as you want to off of your name, image, or likeness. These deals where it's how much money can we raise that we've got this pool of to be able to just recruit players and play them that way. I know that's the way of the world right now. I'm just not sure that's the way it really should be, because at some point it just never ends. If they want to make money off endorsements, TV deals, advertise with Armor Bank like KJ did, whatever, make as much money off of that as you can. That's coming after you've already come to the university, which in my opinion is how it should be. That's a conversation more for another time, but I just don't know where it will end if you start having, this type of conversation coming from your athletic director, and then you're seeing what's going to be coming. Probably it's going to happen at every SEC school. Eventually you have to keep up. So everybody's going to start charging a talent fee on their tickets. Just give it another year or two and we'll be there too. I promise. So we'll see.
Yeah. One last thing on NIL before we move forward here, similar to what you're talking about, Arkansas kind of did a similar thing where they actually partnered with the Walmart AM for the upcoming Justin Moore, Randy Hauser concert, where if you go online, use code EDGE, you'll get $10 off your tickets, but then a portion of those proceeds goes towards Arkansas Edge. So very similar to that talent fee. Like, it's still an entertainment, like you're paying and, use this discount code, and then part of the proceeds will go to the collective. So,
see, I'm more okay with something like that, though, where even the Edge Collective, and I don't know all the details on it. I'm not a member of it. Should be, but I'm not. I've got a 7-month-old, and formula is ridiculous. But anyhow, maybe there should be some type of incentives around it where it doesn't even have to be much. If you get preferred seating or early access or preferred parking, something, I don't even know. It doesn't even have to be to football games necessarily, because I know that's a moneymaker for parking and seats and things like that. But like, say you donate to the football program, you get preferred, hog pen seats or something. They have a section roped off in the hog pen for baseball season for you, or something. I don't know. Figure out a way, or even if it's sticker giveaways or bobblehead giveaways. I mean, if we can give away bobbleheads at games, can we have specific bobbleheads that only go to Edge members? Something like that to provide more incentive than just, if you want a winning program, this is how you have to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. So we'll see where this NIL leads. Like you said, though, it's keeping up with the Joneses nowadays. With one team does one thing, the next team's going to do another to up them a little bit, and it's just going to be an ongoing thing. And that's what you get for opening this Pandora's box of NIL. So we'll see what Arkansas does moving forward, and hopefully, moving forward. I
want to compete, but I want it to be fair to Arkansans, man. It just, I don't know.
Not just give us money. And as we move on, we did get some basketball news updates over this weekend and today. 5-star Malik Thomas has officially rescheduled his Arkansas visit the week of October 4th. That is the weekend we come back and have Tennessee coming to town. So that will be a big visit for Arkansas as Coach Cal continues to hit the recruiting trail. And then we officially got the announcement of Arkansas playing Kansas October 25th, dubbed Battle at Bud. This will be a charity exhibition game where Arkansas will be playing Kansas. It's the weekend of the Mississippi State game where Arkansas is on the road, so no home football game that weekend. So get out there and go to this game. But proceeds of this will be benefiting mental health organizations around Arkansas. So we saw what we did last year with the exhibition against Purdue, and we've got this one one against TCU, and then we've got some other non-conference matchups. But, what a way to start up top by your first game that you're coaching at Arkansas, taking on too early top 25 number one Kansas.
Yeah, it's wild. It's going to pack the bud again, man. I mean, you'll have people camping out just like they did for Purdue. It's going to be pretty cool. And I'm curious to see, we've talked about it before, but I'm curious to see, how long the starters play, if you will. That Purdue game, I think everybody was a little bit shocked at how competitive it got and how long starters were in. Even though it was an exhibition game that didn't matter, it mattered. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. As we continue rolling here, as we're getting ready to do our football preview show, Arkansas soccer, they were on a break last week, so no games since we last discussed, but Arkansas now has moved up in the rankings to number 3 as voted by the United Soccer Coaches, which is Arkansas's highest ranking in program history. And we know where Coach Kobe Hale has this program at. They return back to the pitch tomorrow, taking on LSU for opening conference play, where you just mentioned it. Kobe Hale bobbleheads are being given away at the soccer match. It's
going to be awesome. We're primed to have another really good conference year. I think things will go well there. For the most part, soccer is a fairly evenly matched game where usually the better opponent does win, kind of similar to football. In basketball and baseball, some crazy flukes happen, and that happens in soccer from time to time. But I feel like we've got a really good team that's very balanced between explosive offensive attack, but very, very solid defense on the back end. So they're going to have a good year, I think. I'm excited to start conference play.
100%. As we jump over to Arkansas volleyball, Arkansas takes on the road at Tulsa, loses that 3-2. They come back home, play Stephen F. Austin, win 3-0. Arkansas's Romani Thurman named co-offensive SEC player of the week. Again, here we go with those co's. Like it's your pet peeve talking about mistakes. I think it's mine now to have these co's throughout. Let Arkansas have just an individual. Quit giving out the co's to these Arkansas players.
Well, and even if it doesn't go to an Arkansas player, even if it goes to somebody else, I'm sure they don't want it to be a co either. So figure out something, find a way to, differentiate. Even if 2 people did have close performances, flip a coin. I don't know, something.
Yeah. Wrapping up here, Arkansas volleyball. Arkansas and Coach Courtney Deifel continues to heat up the recruiting trail as on Monday softball, yes. So they landed 2 top 100 players, Mia Johnson, third baseman, middle infielder Katie King for the class of 2026. What else do you expect from Coach Deifel here with where she's got the state of this Arkansas program?
We're going to compete. There's a lot of good talent in the SEC, but I think this is an area where we're keeping up with everyone. It's just, can we find a way to win the big games? That's kind of been our Achilles heel over the last couple of years, is finding a way to get out of regionals and win the big ones. So that's what I'm going to be looking for this year, because I think in regular season we're going to be just as good, just as competitive, sneak a couple series wins away from some good teams out there. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, I agree. I can't wait to see what this next year holds with Coach Deifel and this Arkansas softball program. No baseball updates. You've got fall ball going right now. They have several open practices. If you have time to get out there and go check them out, you can kind of see what the guys are doing. Go check it out. Dave Van Horn said he's changed up some of the, how he goes about practice. And, one of those is base running. And so if you get a chance, get out there and go check out Arkansas baseball's fall camps. Plus, they're going to be having some fall matchup exhibition games later on. So get ready to go check those out. And so now we are getting ready to jump over and talk Arkansas at Auburn this week. And jumping on to preview this matchup with us is Blake Lane from the Up Tempo podcast. Blake, how you doing?
I'm doing great, fellas. I appreciate you having me, and War Eagle.
You. Good to have you on, man. Appreciate you taking some time out of your day for us.
Yeah, man, I'm excited about this matchup. A little bit nervous. I was at the game 2 weeks ago against Cal, and I can tell you it was tough to watch, and last year, I get it. It was year one under Hugh Freeze, and I expected to struggle. He told us that. He was straight up with us. He was honest. He said, "Hey, we're not going to be very good. Don't expect us to go out here and shock people." And we still played with Georgia and Alabama. And we had some games where we looked impressive, but then the New Mexico State happened, and the Iron Bowl, the 4th and goal from the 31, and then you get into the bowl game with Maryland, and all we heard all summer long was how it was going to be different. And he hired his OC, got him away from Ole Miss, Derek Nix, and then you go out and you get Durkin from A&M, and it was going to be different. And we had to sit through that with Cal. And so that was where I started kind of stepping back and saying, "Hey, maybe he's trying to change the culture right now, but we're still a 7-5, 6-6 football team." I still think this is a young Auburn team with a lot of babies on it, and we're just still not quite there yet. And there's still some time and some recruiting to be done for the Auburn Tigers.
See, and that's like on the flip side of that, you have Arkansas that's in year 5 with Coach Pittman, and last year
there.
was last year was definitely a letdown with all the high expectations going into the season of having KJ, having Rocket, expecting to having one of the top quarterback running back duos in the SEC, and that went downhill real fast. I mean, we had a number of 1-score games, but even in those games, offense was just not where it needed to be. We brought in Dan Enos last year, a guy that, like Sam Pittman had been here before, and it was not a match with KJ. And I think that really put some stress on the season. And, here we are, splash move in the offseason, bringing Bobby Petrino back as the OC. One of those things that a lot of people, it was surprising to hear, but 3 weeks into the season, Arkansas is 2-1. You guys the same. Arkansas has that tough, heartbreaking road loss against Oklahoma State, which Arkansas did. Arkansas beat themselves, if you will. They did everything they needed to do to win that game, and like Seth and I said, it came down to turnovers, and that's what we said could be the deciding factor in that game. But now we open up conference play on the road. Arkansas and Auburn over the past few years has had some interesting games between the two where right off the bat, I think about the Bo Nix spike that was a questionable call, and then you had you guys coming to or the next year there was some questionable calls in the game. So is that something that you think is a trend that could continue as Arkansas heads down to Jordan-Hare?
I hope not. I do think this is going to be a back and forth game. I think this is going to come down to the wire. I think the spread's right where it needs to be. I don't think either team's going to run away with it. So it could come down to one of those Bo Nix plays. Arkansas might be trying to take a knee or spike the ball or whatever, and something crazy happened like that. I'll tell you this: we were playing Cal 2 weeks ago. We're driving the ball, trying to get points right before the half. And PT, we get it into, I think it was Cal's like 39, 37, something like that. We go up to spike the ball. We fumble the snap, y'all. PT picks the ball up, spikes it, intentional grounding, takes us out of field goal range. It's things like that, man. Jordan-Hare, even against us, there's some voodoo and there's some weird stuff that goes on in that place. So I'm excited for Saturday. I like what is happening at Arkansas right now. I think you guys are much better than the way people talked about y'all all summer and into fall camp. I think it is, that game against Oklahoma State, that was a heartbreaker because I felt like you should have won the dang game. And I was watching it inside of Jordan-Hare, and it was a tough one, and because I want Arkansas. This is just me as an Auburn fan. I want Arkansas to get back to those Darren McFadden days and all those guys that y'all had, man, Matt Jones, all those cats back in the day that I can remember growing up, and get back to being at the top and competing to go to Atlanta. That's the Arkansas that I want back in this conference. And look, they were down in you guys. They were saying that Sam Pittman would be fired by week 4 and everything like that, but it looks much better in that Taylor Green. I know there's some inconsistencies throwing the ball right now and everything like that, but that dude's a player, man.
He's got wheels, and you can tell that he makes the right reads. That's the thing that I've liked watching. With it being his first year with Petrino, there's going to be a learning curve. But so far, just the play that I've watched him, he's making the right reads, throwing the ball where it needs to go. It's just not always an accurate pass. Sometimes it's at the feet of the receiver. Sometimes it's out the back of the end zone, 9 yards above their head, things like that. And that's the stuff that can make or break a game for you in a tight one, which I expect. To your point, I think this will be a close game against you guys. I think this is a decent matchup. Surprisingly, thankfully on our end, our offensive line was absolutely horrible last year, and I think the main reason that KJ and Rocket looked horrible all year, that offensive line is way better than they were. We have one of the better rushing attacks in the SEC. Granted, it's early and we haven't played, just tremendous opponents. But that rushing attack is more improved than even I thought it was going to be. And so if we can lean on that while Taylon's kind of getting his sea legs under him, I think we'll still be competitive even in games like against you guys. And then A&M, I've got penciled the week after y'all as well. These are 2 big games for us that I think are winnable, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were talking about it on our recap show on Sunday that you guys probably have our game penciled on the schedule. Like, hey, there's maybe a win right there, and there's maybe an SEC win. We've got y'all penciled the same way, just with the kind of the team y'all have had, especially this year losing to Cal. Everybody's like, oh, well, maybe Auburn's a win. Maybe we can find a way to get to 6-6 or 7-6 if we can beat Auburn and beat another team or two down the road. Mississippi State comes to mind, another win that we potentially can get that's penciled. So on the opposite side of things, we anticipate you guys have us circled the same way. So I think this will be, even though it's not, a Georgia versus Alabama or anything like that, where it's going to be 2 Titans clashing, I think this is a good matchup that's going to be very entertaining. There's going to be potentially a decent amount of points scored. I don't think either offense is just like extremely explosive. But I think there's enough firepower on each offense for this to be, a 35-30, maybe somebody breaks the 40 mark, somewhere around in that nature. Could be a good game, but very similar to Oklahoma State. I kind of feel that way about you guys as well. Whoever can play the cleanest football, not having a ton of turnovers or even turnovers on downs, I count those 2.
Yep.
I think it's really going to have a chance to come out on top on this game.
Y'all, I'll tell you this. Last night we did our live show, and we just kind of talk about the opponent and everything, and we break some things down of the previous weekend and all of that. What did Auburn do, and what did they not succeed at? And one big thing is we can't create turnovers on defense right now.
We can't either.
Yeah, it's been a struggle, So, but like Auburn. Last night we're sitting here talking about Auburn and Arkansas, and I said, right now I have Arkansas winning this football game, and that's just me being. I'm not a sunshine pumper. I don't get on the show and just Auburn's going, 11-1, and they're going to the college football playoff. I like to keep it real, and after what I've watched so far this season, you're starting a redshirt freshman at quarterback, and it's going to be his first SEC game. And it's tough for me to sit here and say that we're going to go out there and beat Arkansas. I know it's at home, but I got to see it to believe it. And one of the listeners to the show, he gets on there and he types in the comment section. He says, "Man, that's mighty bold of you as an Auburn man to predict Auburn to lose on an Auburn podcast." And I said, well, there's no way that you can watch what you've watched, especially 2 weeks ago against Cal, and just come out and say, "Oh, we're going to beat Arkansas." And he said, "Well, last year." And I said, "Well, that's a whole calendar year ago. All right, like this isn't last year. These are 2 completely different teams." And we were hanging our hat on Peyton Thorne improving. And it was the game against you guys last year where we were like, "Hey, we've never seen that Peyton Thorne. Like, it was a different guy. And that's the guy that we were expecting. And it didn't pan out that way against Cal. It ended up being the Peyton Thorne that went to Baton Rouge, the Peyton Thorne that went to Kyle Field. And it didn't work out. So now you're starting this early into the season. You had to pivot to a redshirt freshman quarterback, and he's getting his first start. And you want me to come out and say that Auburn's about to win by 2 scores? I just can't do that. I think Auburn's going to have to rely on Jarquez Hunter and Damari Alston and Jeremiah Cobb and try to run the football. And maybe you start getting some success on the ground, and then that kind of opens things up for Hank. You get the ball out quick, getting comfortable. That might help you a little bit in the offense. But I love Auburn to death, but a lot of Auburn fans just think Auburn's going to come out here and try to air it out Saturday, and I don't think that's the case. And I think Arkansas is probably going to try to do the same thing to us. I think you guys are going to try to run the football on us, and that's been a big thing with Auburn's defense the past couple of years. Can you stop the run? Because you've struggled with it at times over the past 3 to 5 years. You've had real struggles probably since about 2019. When you had the defense and Bo Nix as a true freshman, and you just couldn't get any offense going. So, but that's my thing with this is I think both teams are going to trade blows. I think it's going to go back and forth, but I think we're going to see a lot of run in this game. And hopefully Jarquez Hunter can hold on to the football, y'all, because we've had a problem here in the first couple of weeks with fumbling the football. And I'm one of those people, if you're a senior, you got to hold on to the football. And Jarquez, he had a fumble against Cal that was crucial. We were on our side of the field, probably around the 35. We were down 7. We had just got the ball back. First play, we run a little zone play to Jarquez, and he gets hit behind the line of scrimmage and fumbles the ball. They pick it up. First play, they score a touchdown. We're down 2 scores in our house. So got to hold on to the football, and you got to win the turnover battle also. Like, Auburn has struggled, like I told you guys earlier. We've struggled to create turnovers, and we've been turning it over. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree there. It's like Andy Reid says, with his running backs high and tight, that you got to carry the ball high and tight. But, I mean, I kind of see what you're getting there. A few weeks ago, we were talking and previewing the Oklahoma State game. And, like you said, we're not going to come on the show and just say, oh, Arkansas is going to win every single game. We're being realistic about it. We say realistically until Arkansas proves that, they can come out and play, quote unquote, with the big dogs. We thought Arkansas would probably make this a close game, but ultimately lost it. And I mean, they did. But I think they showed everybody what their potential is. And then, I don't even know what to call last week, a hangover from a tough loss. But it wasn't what everybody expected for your first home game. And, similar to just not a great performance all around. But like you said, coming into this game, I think it's on Arkansas side, you're looking at it. And my perspective is, if you're Sam Pittman in year 5 of your program, this is a game you got to win. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're looking to get to that 6 to 7 win mark to hopefully keep your job if you're Sam Pittman. And on the flip side for you guys, year 2 of Hugh Freeze, let's go get a win at home against an SEC program and kind of continue to build what, off some high points from last year. And so it's definitely going to be interesting for sure. I want to say if last week would have been better, I would have been more confident about this week. But the thing Seth and I talked about is we got to see, can you chalk up last week's game and Taylor's performance to, is that just, do you chalk it up to a bad game, or is this going to be an all-season thing on, do we know which Taylor Green we're getting in this game? The one that came out and played really well against Oklahoma State, or are you getting the one that came out and struggled with its accuracy against UAB? And especially for both teams, the talent level, the competition level ramps up this week as you enter conference play. There's no doubt about it. And so, like you said, it's going to be a tough task for both teams as you get ready to enter conference play. It's like Pigpen says here, this game could end up being the battle of the defensive lines in this game. And we were talking about some stats and things like that, and some things to look at here. Shout out to SEC Mike for some of these rankings and things that he posted on Twitter. When you look at, and these are based off national rankings, but these are SEC teams. So offensive rushing efficiency, Arkansas is number 2 in the country nationally in rushing efficiency. Auburn comes in at 26. Passing efficiency, you kind of flip the script a little bit there. Arkansas comes in at number 58, Auburn at number 37. The one that gets me here that I feel like a trademark of a Petrino offense. Arkansas explosive plays of 20+ yards. Arkansas ranks number 2. However, you guys do rank number 5 as well. So, and that may be just picking and choosing. Like,
these are deep in the weeds analytics.
Yeah,
but yeah,
and a lot of those. I'm not here to just down Auburn or anything. Like, I love Auburn, but a lot of that was week 1 against Alabama A&M, where we put up 70, and it wasn't like that against Cal. I can tell you that. And with the run game, I felt like we gave up on the run against Cal. We at one point in the third quarter, we were getting 4 or 5 yards a carry, and then we run play action and we get sacked. Like, Peyton takes an 8-yard sack, and the drive's dead right there. And we would go right back to running the football. Then we drop back to pass. Peyton throws a pick. And I feel like there's something going on right now. And I don't know if it was just the quarterback situation while the offense wasn't clicking. I mean, I think Hank Brown come in last week against New Mexico, and he got the ball out quick. He looked good. One thing I can say is there's a different spark with Auburn and the players with Hank in the huddle. It feels like it's just smoother. And I hate down in PT. I hope the kid has a great, career in the rest of life. I thank him for coming to Auburn. It's, I hope he gets a degree from Auburn and has a great life. But it just didn't work out. And every time he got in a big moment, it was the lights were too bright. And I feel like that put some pressure on Hugh, and he was kind of scrambling. And it just looked like the play column was off against Cal. And it was a disaster that day. I can tell you, because I'm one of those Auburn guys, man. I like to go to the big ones in Jordan-Hare. And I was considering Cal a big one because of the 7 months we had to wait for college football. We lost to Maryland in the Music City. So I was like, man, you got to dominate Cal. And I went to Penn State and Jordan-Hare with Brian Harsin, and we got run out of the stadium. And then I go to Cal thinking that we're about to dominate these cats, and we get dominated. And
it's tough.
It is. And we're 2 programs that shouldn't be where we're at right now. Honestly, we should be competing. Like I said earlier, we need to get back to them old days where we used to slug it out, and the winner puts themselves in position to compete with Alabama for. I know we don't have divisions anymore, but it was fun when the winner gets to slug it out with Alabama for the West.
Yeah, I miss those days, man. It seems like it's been a while. Heck, even for both of our teams, really.
Yep.
It's been a while for both teams. But, just to add a little bit here, I think you look at the 3rd and 4th down offensive success. Both teams are fairly decent there. We're technically number 1 in 3rd and 4th down offensive efficiency and success. You guys are at number 30, which is not bad either, frankly. I think our numbers are inflated significantly due to the UAPB game we had in week 1. We went 10 for 10 on our offensive drives with 10 touchdowns that day and converted every 3rd down we were on. I mean, it was one of those games. We were better than who we played, which was fine. But we actually executed well, didn't have any mistakes, and then that's what happens when you can play clean ball like that. But there's some really good things that we match up with here. I think both these teams have a lot of similarities. That's what I'm excited to see. I feel like these teams play each other in practice on our scout teams, and so we match up well. just based off what we see in our own practices against our own players, I think
Yep.
you guys' strength is probably your run game. Ours is the exact same way. It's definitely our run game. That's our strength.
Yep.
I think our defensive line has something to prove. I think y'all's does too. Like both secondaries, maybe a little questionable. We've got some good players in ours, but two of our best players in our secondary are going to be out this game with injuries. So that'll leave some gaps. And we saw that this past week against UAB at home. Hudson Clark and Jalen Braxton were out that game, two of our better secondary players. And we did not look good in secondary. Yep. We made their quarterback, little guy for UAB, look like a Heisman candidate. So, I think both teams have a lot of questions to be answered. Very similar to how there was questions at the beginning of the season. I know that was this way for us with Taylor Green being a new quarterback, having Petrino being new. I think Hugh Freeze is still new enough, plus y'all's coordinator additions were new enough that there's a lot of questions on both programs that need to be answered. And so this will be another game where more questions are asked and hopefully some more questions are answered. But to Caleb's point, I feel like both teams think of this game as a must win because where else are you going to find an SEC win on the schedule? It's few and far between. Do you guys play Mississippi State this year?
No, we don't, unfortunately.
I'm sorry. Do you play Florida?
No, we don't.
Oh, man. Yeah, y'all got a tough road to hoe.
It's wild, too, because we don't ever get to play Florida. And Auburn and Florida is like one of those weird rivalries. Yeah, it's got a history, man, and it's fun. So, I don't know.
I mean, I think it's the same way with Arkansas and Florida. We play them every 4 to 5 years, maybe. Yeah. Like last year, we played them. We played them in the Swamp last year, and then before that, I think it was maybe.
It was like 2016 or something.
Yeah, something weird like that. We hadn't played them that long, but yeah, I get what you're saying. So it's those weird matchups that come in the off years that are always good ones. But to what Seth was alluding to, so now we all know the NCAA and the SEC approved the new procedure of Wednesdays are going to be injury report days. Yep. This was the first week of that first week SEC play. And I've got these pulled up here, and we'll run through you guys first for Auburn. So, the first two right here, Tyler Scott and Brandon Frazier, they have listed as out.
Yeah. Tyler Scott is out for the year. He tore his ACL in fall camp. So that hurt the secondary because we had to deal with that injury. And then Colton Hood in the summer said, "Hey, I'm out of here. I'm going to Colorado." So those were two big losses, and we're playing babies in the secondary, y'all. Like it's Talon could have a big day. We got Kay and Lee. He's our best cover guy, and he's out there on an island, but he's a sophomore, and he played as a freshman, but he's still a puppy. That's what I like to call them is puppies. And we got some guys at the safety position that they're puppies, and we lost Simpson last year, and he went to the NFL, got drafted. We had DJ James get drafted, Nehemiah Pritchett get drafted. So we lost a lot of that secondary, and now with Tyler Scott out, it's a tough blow, man. That's one that you hate right there. And then Brandon Frazier, a guy that's been at Auburn for 5-6 years, and you hate to hear this because he broke his foot last Saturday. And he actually had a nice little catch on the sideline, and he got upfield and got a first down, and then you wondered what was up because you kind of never saw him again. And then you hear after the game, Hugh said he broke his foot and he'll be out for some time. And that was also a huge blow because he's that senior leader guy that's been around, the glue guy in the locker room, and he makes contested catches too. So he's big on third down from time to time, and it's another blow to the tight end room.
Yeah, you hate to see those veteran leaders getting missing time or getting out for the season or whatever it may be. Continuing on next year, we got Amaris Williams on the defensive line, doubtful for this game.
Not sure what is wrong with Amaris, but he is a true freshman. He was a big time recruit, and I'm not sure what happened, but I doubt he goes. Honestly, I don't think he goes.
Yeah. And you got 4 guys here. They got listed as questionable: Cam Coleman, Antonio Kite, Alex McPherson, and Xavier Miller are all questionable for this game.
I think Xavier Miller plays, and that is another sticky situation for Auburn is offensive line. Percy Lewis, we got him to transfer from Mississippi State. He comes over to play left tackle. We hear a week before the season, y'all, there's a question at left tackle. So Percy Lewis and Tyler Johnson are now battling for a position there. And you're sitting here scratching your head saying, well, this guy was a starter at Mississippi State, comes over, now we're battling. Then as Avion goes down, and now we're having to shuffle our offensive line again. And I hope he plays. I think he's going to play. I heard right before I come on here, some of my guys were saying that they think he's going to give it a go, which is a big deal for Hank Brown and this running game. Getting too tall in there, too tall, that's what he goes by. So getting too tall in there, that's a plus for Auburn's offensive line. And then you said Cam Coleman, right?
Yes, questionable.
Must-win game. He's got to play. This is a must-win game, and Cam Coleman. I'm sure y'all saw the shoulder against Cal, and I don't know why Peyton threw the ball, but he did, and I think he was good last week. If we would have been playing Arkansas last week, he probably would have played. He was out, throwing the ball around with Perry Thompson and dancing and all that. So I think he's going to go must-win game, in my opinion, for Auburn. Because if you don't win this game, you fall to 2-2 and you're 0-1 in the SEC. And all those Hugh haters on the Plains are going to come out and they're going to start questioning things. Because then you will have New Mexico State, Maryland, and the tragic 4th and goal from the 31. And then you're going to be 0-1 in SEC play this year. So people are going to start talking. So this is a must win for me.
Yeah. And then finally, the 2 that are probable, one you just mentioned, Kay and Lee, and then the other is Champ Anthony.
So I think both of these are going to go. Kayan and Champ. Kayan's going to be on that outside corner. He's that lockdown corner for us. He struggled this year so far with tackling out in space. Our whole secondary. I'm not going to single him out. Our entire secondary has. But we've got to get better in that department. But Kayan is a heck of a corner. He was a 4-star flip from Ohio State. Like I said, he got time last year. He's going to be a big player for us. And Champ Anthony was a guy that come out of nowhere, to be honest. And he was a bit undersized when he got to Auburn, but he was a guy that started on special teams, y'all. And you could just see the motor. Punt coverage, kickoff coverage, everything, man. He was out there making plays. And last year he started getting a little run at nickel. And he started making some plays and he started tackling and he started popping some pads out there. And so this year, with all the people that we lost in our secondary, we started having to move some people around, and Champ got his go, and now he's out there. So Champ's getting some run. I hope he plays, and help us. Kayan's got to play. He's got to.
Yeah. And then, you look at that, the flip side for Arkansas, one of the guys that I'm very confused about, because in Monday's presser, Pittman said that he thought Jalen Braxton would be back this week and good to go after, he's been dealing with some bone bruise tendonitis issues in one of his feet. So coming
He's
out
one
today,
of our lockdown guys, honestly.
Yeah.
He was a 5-star freshman last year and was looking really good this year.
Yeah. And, he's ruled out. He's kind of, like you said, was the one of our key guys last year down the stretch, really came on, like you said, had that motor, really looked good towards the end of the year, highly touted coming this year to be one of the top guys in that DB room. And, didn't play last week, kind of giving him some rest in a game where you probably don't really need him. And then, Pittman said he'll probably be good to go this week. And then, this comes to a surprise to us, seeing him listed as out for this week. And then the other one that, not surprising, Hudson Clark, our 5th-year senior defensive back, kind of one of the leaders on that defense, out as well. He suffered a back injury against Oklahoma State 2 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and still dealing with some effects of that. He's out as well. Similar offensive line issues with us. One of the guys that was supposed to be slated in as our starter, Patrick Kudas, listed as out. He's been dealing with some back issues from the offseason. He had an MRI scan on his back August 30th. Still haven't really heard anything from that, but he's been out ever since. And we've had one of our other guys that, like you said, had been a battle kind of getting that starting spot the last few days in it, Marion Harris. So kind of similar things there. We got safety Miguel Mitchell out for this game. He's a transfer. We got in, come over from Florida, played 11 games for Florida last year, started 8 of those, 37 tackles. Hasn't seen the field all season. I think there may be some off the field issues going on there on why he's not playing. We haven't heard any necessarily injury issues out of Pittman so far. And then a key guy I'm circling for us, center Addison Nichols. He last week he gave it a go, left the game early in the first quarter. He was dealing with a high ankle sprain, already had his ankle taped up, got rolled up on last week, exited the game, never returned. He's probable to play. Yeah, that's a big one for us, our veteran center that transferred over from Tennessee. But he said, Pittman said he looked better yesterday than he had over the past week and a half of practice. So he's probably going to give it a go, and that's going to be big for us. Others to note for us, one of our tight ends out, Andrus Paskey, a transfer, not a ton of playing time so far this season. A couple wide receivers out and questionable, guys that are kind of depth guys. Two of our defensive linemen, two DNs, Nico Davier and Anton Junkaj, both are probable for this game. Those are guys that we've talked about. Really have to get going. Our D-line is kind of like you said, we're struggling to get pressure there. We haven't had a sack yet this season. So, especially
our run defense has looked decent. Our run defense hasn't been terrible, but our pass pressure and containment on quarterbacks from time to time has not been great. So that's got to improve. But definitely the biggest ones that could go for Auburn's favor, just to kind of highlight some things there for you, is definitely Jalen Braxton and Hudson Clark still being out. That's huge. Those are tremendous assets for us on the back end that have highlight play after highlight play after highlight play every week. Seems like Hudson Clark, especially in run stopping, kind of plays a little bit of that safety type position, is able to really read plays well. He's got a linebacker brain. He's just a little undersized, so he plays safety. But anyways, it's going to hurt not having them guys in there. And then, if Addison Nichols is struggling with that ankle again, I think that'd be, even if he's playing, if he's not 100%, that could be a little bit rough for us because our offensive line is not necessarily deep. So that'll be a big one I watch for as well.
One thing I want to say is the Auburn Tigers, with the injuries and everything, if you're an Auburn fan watching this and you're not, you haven't seen the show or anything, the Auburn Tigers are young, y'all, and the injuries hurt in positions that we've had this year because there was a lot of hype around the recruiting class, and there's still a lot of hype around the 25 and 26 class because right now you're top 5 in the 25 and you're number 1 in 26, and so you're very young and you're out here and you're losing guys at right tackle and you're losing guys in your secondary. And, we've had busted coverages in our secondary. Last week against New Mexico, it was 3rd and 13 and we give up a seam for 35 yards and everybody's like, oh, that Auburn defense, that DJ Durkin, and I'm like, well, we got 2 freshmen playing safety. Like it's going to happen. So I think Auburn fans have to be patient. And even at receiver, we boast about these 5-star receivers that we got, and Perry Thompson and Cam Coleman and Malcolm Simmons, the 4-star guy from right down the road in Montgomery, and we're like, well, why didn't they get the ball last week? And I'm like, well, they're freshmen, and our coach sits at the podium and he says, hey, you guys are screaming for me to put Malcolm in the game. But what y'all don't know is Malcolm is a freshman, and I'm calling for him to run a dig, and he runs a corner. And he said, so Hank throws the dig, and Malcolm's out here running a corner, and you wonder why Hank threw a pick. And he's like, so that's where we're at right now. And we're young. We're young, and the injuries don't help. And so, I think it's going to be a fantastic game. Like I said earlier, I think it's going to be blow for blow, back and forth. Just one of those weird Arkansas Auburn games where it's just down
Happens
to the
every
wire.
year, man.
Yeah,
Yep.
down to the wire, and something weird's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel that.
Highlight
Fun
that
question
comment
here.
there, Caleb. Yeah.
Yeah, we're about to highlight this. So, what can you tell us about Auburn's kicking game? Arkansas has struggled this year, and a lot of Arkansas fans, if it comes down to that and field goals, it hasn't ended well for Arkansas as our kickers struggle in some field goal issues this year.
Okay, so Alex McPherson, the younger brother from the Bengals, he was our starting kicker last year. True freshman, was the number one kicker in the country. There was videos of him in high school kicking 65, 66 yarders. He has an intestinal issue, and he is probably out for the season. And I know they put questionable on the injury report and everything, but he lost a lot of weight, and it was IBS was being reported, and so he just didn't have the energy. He couldn't get back to practice, and it just come down right to the wire of the season. And good thing that we flipped Towns Magoo from Ole Miss, and that was pretty funny because Lane, right before it happened, Towns Magoo went to Auburn High School, and Lane put on Twitter, and because the whole Lane and Auburn thing was wherever that went, but he put on Twitter, he was like, "Hey, just shoved you in a locker, 5-star kicker, and like went into your backyard and got him." Well, all of a sudden, Auburn social media team posts this video, and it's Towns Magoo walking into Hugh Freeze's office, and he's like, "I'm staying home, coach," and he like slides his card into the little slot, and he's like, "I'm an Auburn Tiger," and so everybody goes nuts, and you got him, so he's going to be the kicker Saturday. Now, he has missed a field goal, but like I said previous in the show, when we were driving against Cal, we were trying to get points. Peyton got the intentional grounding, and it backed us up, and we tried a 60-yarder, and he missed way short. It wasn't close. True freshman, got a leg. He can boot it, but he hasn't been in that pressure situation where you got 90,000 at you, and it's 2 minutes in the fourth quarter, tie game. What's going to happen? I think he's one of the most talented kickers in the country, but he just hasn't been put in that pressure cooker yet of SEC football, big time moment. Can he make this kick? But he's, like I said, he's very talented kicker.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
We feel that with the loss of Cam Little after last year, one of the best to do it, having success with the Jags right now. If we can only clone him or, find an extra season of eligibility for him, that would be great. But, that's where Arkansas is at with, a couple of transfers came in, kind of still feeling that out. So far we have Kyle Ramsey that's really he's been the only guy to kick field goals for us so far this season. Missed a couple in the Oklahoma State game, missed one last week. So, we're still waiting to see if he's going to continue to improve, or is there a swap made, kind of similar to you. We have a 5-star on our roster, but I'm sure the goal is they're trying to redshirt him. So we'll see what happens there. We're going to run through a quick SEC pick'em for this week, and we'll get out of here. So first one, Florida at Mississippi State. Florida is actually favored by 6 in this game. This is going to be an ugly game to watch. After last week, I don't even know who I want to pick, with Florida letting me down at home in the Swamp, but you had Mississippi State get ran out at home by Toledo. So I'll kick it over to you guys first. What do you think, Seth? Florida at Mississippi State.
Man,
which one is better?
This is the turd bowl for sure. And I hate to say that because I don't got bad blood against either of these teams, but I could see Mississippi State squeaking this one out, even though Florida is favored. Just due to the cowbells, man. It's at Mississippi State. We'll see. I think both teams are going to struggle. Let's see who has the fewest amount of turnovers or something. I don't know. Florida could win, but give me the home field advantage, maybe.
I'm going to go with Florida simply because I think that the players are going to have a response with everything going around with Billy and all of that. And this
Does Billy still have a job for this game? That's another question. I'm assuming so, but does he make it to Saturday?
That's true.
He was this one.
He's done. I think he's done regardless. And the reason I'm picking Florida is because I think this is the only win left on the schedule.
I agree.
And if they lose this one, they might not win. Well, they might beat Florida State because they're terrible.
Bird bowls there.
Yeah. So that might be their other opportunity for a win. So give me Florida. One thing about Napier, man, is who are you going to play at quarterback? Like, which guy are you going to go with? I don't know what's happening down there. It just feels like ever since that Rashada thing, it's just been haywire and just off the tracks, man. I'm not watching a second of it. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to break the die here. Florida's burned me twice in two different pick'ems. So Mississippi State's getting my vote in this one. We'll move on. Ohio at Kentucky. I think this is an easy one. Kentucky's going to take out some frustrations on an Ohio team. They're favored by 20 in this one. I think the Cats take this one easy.
I'm with you. I think Kentucky, if they'd had any offense last week, oh man, defense played out of their minds. But I'm going Cats.
Yeah, I think so too. I know they might be a little banged up and a little hungover from the effort that they put on the field against Georgia. But I think they learned a little bit about their team and the way they can run the ball, stuff like that. Maybe have an easier game against Ohio here. I think they'll win this game. They'll probably cover the spread. It's a 20-point spread, but I could see them covering it.
Yeah. Up next, you have UCLA at number 16, LSU. LSU favored by 24. This is the UCLA team that struggled to beat Hawaii, who just lost to Sam Houston by a lot. Give me LSU in this one at home down at Death Valley.
Man, LSU.
Yep.
What I don't know what's going on down there. I really don't. Like, I like them to win the game, but what happened to the defenses of the past? Man, it's been tough. And BK, I thought they got, when he got hired on at LSU, I was like, hey, that's a
scary
hire.
Right?
Yeah, I was like, that's a hire, man. Like that's big time. And he just hasn't been able to figure out the defensive side of the ball. Now, they did get Blake Baker from Mizzou, which I think, it's going to take him a year or two to get it right. But their offense, they just put up points. But, man, they give up 40, and they lose that game Saturday to South Carolina if Sellers stays in there. I believe that.
That game should not have been a LSU win, even though they found a way. South Carolina kind of pulled what we did against Oklahoma State, in my opinion. They figured out a way to lose it, frankly. But, yeah, I've got LSU picked to win this one just because of how bad I think UCLA is. Plus, it's at LSU. I don't know if they'll cover the spread. They might just due to being able to probably run the ball quite well. I think their running game's not bad at all. I think their defense is on its way, which sucks. But at the same time, I think they're figuring it out. But they're one of those teams similar to like Alabama last year. Didn't look very good beginning of the season. Found a way to look pretty good by the end of the year. That's kind of how I feel like LSU might be this year. Have a pretty rough, rocky start, but then finish looking better, if you will. This might be one of those games where they kind of get that momentum going.
Yeah. Up next, Vanderbilt at number 7, Missouri. Missouri favored by 20. I'd love to see an upset here by Vanderbilt. Like we've said before you even joined the show, I'm not saying Missouri's not a good team. I just don't think they're number 7 material or right now. I think they're maybe riding the coattail of the success they had last year a little bit. Now, later on in the season, they play some competitive ball against SEC opponents like A&M, Alabama, teams like that. Sure. But right now, I'm still not a believer. I would love to see Vanderbilt come into here, have Missouri looking on to the next game and get an upset here. But I think, unfortunately, Missouri wins this one.
I'm taking Missouri. I think Pavia. Look, I know firsthand Pavia. I don't think I know. Pavia is a player. Watched him walk into Jordan Hare and put it on us. So, but I think Vanderbilt's defense is going to have some trouble with Missouri's offense, and I'm taking Mizzou, man. I like what Drink has done in his time there.
As bad as I hate to say it, I agree. I think he's done a fantastic job. It took him a couple of years to get it going, but once he got it going, it seemed like he really instilled his pattern there, and it's paid off for him. But they're bad as I hate to say it, and we talked about how Vanderbilt is an improved team compared to the Vanderbilt of years past. I still think Missouri rolls them, though. They're going to win by the spread or more. They'll beat them by 20 plus.
Yeah. The only ranked matchup of the week, number 6 Tennessee going to number 15 Oklahoma. Tennessee's only favored by 7. I get it's a road game, but from what we've seen out of Tennessee this season so far, and Nico, I'm taking Tennessee by more than 7 in this game. Oklahoma, they struggled against Houston 2 weeks ago, or 2 or 3 weeks ago. They beat Tulane this past week, but they didn't look great. I don't think there's enough offense going on down in Oklahoma to combat this explosive Tennessee offense.
One thing about Oklahoma too is they're beat up right now offensively. Their receiving core is just not right, and Jackson Arnold, the jury's still out on him. I'm not a huge believer in him. We play him next week in Jordan Hare, so he'll be coming to town, and I think this is big for us actually, because you got Tennessee playing them the week before. Maybe Tennessee can thump them for us, kind of, throw some things off for Oklahoma, and then them have to make that trip to Jordan Hare next week. But Tennessee, y'all, this offense,
they're good.
And Heupel got it going quick. I mean, the receivers that he's got, the running game. That's the thing is you think that they just spread it out and they throw it around the yard. They can run the football too. And that's probably what's most impressive is everybody looks over at the NC State score and they're like, man, Nico, he had to throw for 500 yards. And then you look at the box score and you're like, hey, that's not what happened. They're that kind of offense. And I like Tennessee, man. I think they're going to lay it on Oklahoma on the road to the return of Josh Heupel to the Sooners. That's going to be special. So give me the Vols.
I agree. There's a chip there. I think every game they're trying to win by 60. They're trying to make the biggest case they can for the college football playoff. I mean, right now they're a lock for it if the season just doesn't absolutely crumble on them. They got some tough games coming, but I think they're going to be right there in that conversation at the end of the year. Just due to their offense alone, to your point. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. Their quarterback can run the ball. I mean, there's just a lot of options there on offense, and Heupel's a great coach of getting the best out of his players scheme-wise. And their defense ain't bad to back it up. So, I think Oklahoma is not going to have a great day. I don't know if Tennessee beats them by 30, but I think they cover the spread.
Yeah. Up next, you have Bowling Green at number 25, Texas A&M. Not sure what beating a bad Florida team does to get you back in the top 25, but it's something. Texas A&M favored by 23 in this one. If they stay with the same quarterback from last week, Wegman just doesn't look like he's the guy. He's had multiple chances last year, this year. Doesn't seem like he's the guy for them. I think Texas A&M wins this one. I don't know if it's necessarily by 23. We'll see what Bowling Green does, but I think A&M probably wins this game.
Y'all, can I say this real quick? And I know y'all got like a little rivalry with A&M and everything, and y'all play that one at Jerry World, and
next week.
Yeah, man. Look, every year I get told that Texas A&M is going 10-2.
Every year,
every single year, and Johnny Manziel is not walking through that door. It's just he's not, and I keep listening to it, and I'm like, Connor Wegman last year when we went to Kyle Field, yeah, they beat us 27 to whatever it was. But we went out there with Robbie Ashford and Peyton Thorne, and we had no offense. And the only reason they won that game is because Wegman got hurt and Max Johnson come in and diced us up. And
Yep.
so coming back this year, they were like, Wegman's the guy. And I was like, no, he's not. He's not. He's not the guy. You're not winning 10 games. You're not good. And then you had Big Brother join the conference, and you're telling me that you're about to. I don't get it. That's just my Texas A&M thing. I've never been a believer unless number 2 walked out of the locker room. But I do like Texas A&M, and yeah, whatever happened with that Florida game last week, I'm not hyping anybody up for beating Florida, y'all.
Not at
I
all.
just,
I don't
the
think
kid
anybody
the kid looked good. He looked good, but Florida's defense is terrible.
I was about to say, but he's also kind of similar to what you were saying about you guys. He's a true freshman.
Yes.
So, I mean, it was Florida. Yes, it was an SEC team, but that was an incredibly bad Florida team.
Yes.
So we'll see if he gets to start again this week. I think they said claimed Wegman was dealing with injury issues, but he was throwing on the sideline. So I think they went with a different option.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what they do this week. And then, yeah. Seth, your thoughts on the game?
So I don't think A&M's winning by 23. The only way they do that is if their defense scores 2 touchdowns. Then maybe that's a possibility. And their defense, in my opinion, is the reason that they are ranked and are as good as they are. It's not necessarily their offense, in my opinion. They got a decent enough defense under Elko. Granted, I know it's his first year, but he inherited some decent players, and he's a defensive-minded guy. But I don't sleep on Bowling Green, though, man. I think they'll cover their end of the spread. I don't think they're going to win, and they're playing in a tough environment. But Bowling Green hasn't just been atrocious this year, and I think this could be a trap game for A&M, especially if they're kind of looking ahead a week potentially. So we'll see.
I was about to say, if you look at it, Bowling Green is 1-1, and they took Penn State down to the wire, only losing by 7. So who knows? Like you said, it could be a trap game. I will be interested to see what happens there. Akron at South Carolina. South Carolina bounces back from that tough loss last week. I think they probably can cover 28 in this game, and easy win for South Carolina.
Yeah, easy win. I am interested to see how Robbie Ashford how he plays, because I think that's a big question mark for the Gamecocks moving forward.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think this is a bounce back and a get right type game after a game that you should not have lost. I'll be curious to see if they have some hangover, kind of how we did after Oklahoma State going against UAB. That was a get right game for us, if you will, where everybody expected us to come out and kind of clean some things up and execute well, and we didn't. So do they have some lingering effects carry into this one? They're going to win. They have the talent to easily win this game, even if they don't play well. But do they look as good as they should is going to be the question I'm kind of watching for.
Yeah. Georgia Southern, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, they get it done here. 35 is the spread. I wouldn't be surprised if they win by much more than that, the way they've been playing this year. Jackson Dart's just throwing the ball all over the field.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, Ole Miss going away. I mean, they made Wake Forest canceled next year's game. They beat them so bad. Yeah, I like the Rebels.
Yeah.
As much as I hate them, there's kind of a rivalry there as well. There's a lot of crazy. Honestly, man,
it's always a weird
games.
game.
Yeah, there's crazier games in Ole Miss Arkansas history than there is Auburn Arkansas history, with some of the overtimes and 4th and 25 type crazy plays. I mean, there's some wild history there. But yeah, Ole Miss has got it rolling. I think Lane's doing great things there. Hate to say it, but they're a really good team in all facets of the game. Their defense is good, even though historically they have never had a great defense. They've had a pretty good defense these last couple of years, and that's why they've kind of cracked that top 10 echelon and are really competing with the big boys, in my opinion. So it's an easy win.
Can I say something about Ole Miss real quick, y'all? So anytime an Ole Miss fan gets in our comments or anything like that, I'll always just kind of chirp back and I say, hey, when have you ever been to Atlanta for anything meaningful? I've never in my lifetime, ever, period. Never
True.
played for an SEC title. And so anytime they say, well, Ole Miss is it's a better job than Auburn. Um, Look, man, I've gotten to witness my team win an SEC title. I've gotten to witness my team hoist a crystal ball, and I have never seen Ole Miss do any of that. Period. I've never seen it come close to happening. So that's my beef with Ole Miss fans. When that Ole Miss Auburn thing started hyping up on Twitter, and then the Lane stuff, oh man, we were having a time, y'all.
It's about to happen at Florida. There's already rumors swirling
Yeah.
everywhere, man. If Napier's gone, how hard do they poach Lane away from Ole Miss? Because that's, granted, I think he likes it there,
Yeah.
but everybody looks at that job as like, oh, we might could go get him. He's a great coach. If we get him to, our school, we've got better history and potentially better recruiting and better NIL and whatever. But you still got to give Lane his credit at Ole Miss. He's done tremendous things there, kind of turning them into a fairly household name powerhouse type program over the last couple of years at least.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's one of those things. I think Lane and Ole Miss are a great fit just because they both seem to have a little bit of the big head about themselves. And, Lane and
think
Ole
he
Miss
feeds
are
into
both
it.
a little bit greasy, a little bit slimy schools,
Yeah.
and, very much similarities there. So finally, General Booty's about to have his ship sunk really hard by number 1 Texas, which is going to be led by Arch Manning this week. Texas favored by 44.5. It could be more than that. If Arch Manning plays like he did last week, they could drop 70.
Yeah, Texas going away. Arch Manning, big day, like Texas. I think they're a natty contender.
Everybody
100%.
says Georgia's the team to beat, and they are. Granted, they did have a horrible game against Kentucky and should have won. And not enough people are really talking about that. But good teams can have a bad day. That's fine. We talked about it kind of earlier on in the show. But Texas, to me, they haven't shown a weakness yet. I haven't seen a weakness in any facet of the game. I mean, they're special teams phenomenal, field goal kicking phenomenal, and then their defense and offensive, everybody. Their bench players even, are just everybody's good. When you have a guy like Archie Manning who should be starting anywhere else, let's be real, committed to you to play behind Quinn Ewers and develop and turn into who he's supposed to be, that's unheard of in today's day and age. What that is going to let them develop there at Texas, if they continue that pattern of play, they will be competing for SEC championships year in and year out. As bad as all of us wanted to say that they were delusional thinking that a couple of years ago, when it was confirmed that they were going to come to the SEC, this is a different team than 3 years ago.
Yep.
It really is. I'm like, this is a different team, which is not great. But we hate Texas around here. I'm sure you guys do too. Yeah. But you do got to give them their credit. They have done phenomenal things in recruiting and retaining players. To me, that's not talked about enough in college football lately is can you retain the players you have year in and year out? And I think they've done a pretty good job of that there, and it's paying dividends, man. They look great. This is going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I still have October 19th circled on my calendar. Georgia walks into Texas for what could be one of the biggest matchups in all of college football this season. But with that, that was, our breakdown. Auburn, Arkansas at Auburn this weekend, kicking off at 2:30 on ESPN. Get out there, check it out, watch the game. Before we get out of here, Blake, let people know where they can find you at.
Yeah, man. Find us on YouTube at the Uptempo Podcast. We do shows Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. We mostly go live on those shows and just breaking down all Auburn sports, baseball, football, basketball. I'm big into Auburn baseball. I know we don't have the resources and like you guys at Arkansas do, but
what's up?
we've gotten to go to Omaha a couple times here recently, and I'm a proud supporter of Auburn baseball, and I follow it. I got to cover a couple of games last year. Got to go in and ask Butch Thompson some questions, so that was like a highlight of mine.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man, it was a blast. Even though the season didn't go the way we wanted, but it was still, it's like a bucket list thing for me, man. I'm huge into Auburn baseball, and look, we love the Tigers on the hardwood. I know you guys. And Coach Cal, that's awesome. I love it. Everything that happened, him walking down the street in Lexington and all that, and then him coming to the Hogs, man, that is, we've had our fair share of battles on the hardwood here recently as well. And SEC basketball is just so fun now to watch, the coaching and the talent that everybody brings in. You got Alabama going to the Final Four, and Arkansas is there every year. They've made those Elite Eight runs, and with Musselman, and then you get Coach Cal and all that good stuff, man. So, and Coach Bruce Pearl got us to a Final Four, our first one in school history, and we got robbed, but that's for another day.
That's
but
fair.
yeah, man. Yeah, we cover all Auburn stuff, man, and we try to keep it relaxed. But one thing we don't do is sunshine pump over there, and that's we take a little heat for it because we do love Auburn, but we like to keep it real.
We're the same way here, man. I had us picked to go 5-7 this year, and everybody may hate us for it, but I think that's what's realistic. If we make a bowl game, I think that's a little bit of a surprise. So,
guys, like going all through summer and into fall camp, I kept saying that there was a way for Auburn to go 8-4. Like there was a path. I kept hammering home, like trying to throw it out there. Like your first 5 games are at home. You got to win them. All right. And you haven't now. And we kept saying that, hey, we're probably like, our roster is like 7-5. We could go 6-6. There's a path to 8-4. And people are like, man, this team is 10-2. And I'm like, we're not. We're just so young. We're young, and it's been tough right now as an Auburn fan. Brian Harsin put us through one of the worst times in Auburn football, man. And it was you guys clocked us to getting fired. How I just thought about that. Y'all come into Jordan Hare and just beat the tar out of us, and they fired him that Monday morning. So he set our roster back years, and Hugh's trying to get it back. So it's going to be a work in progress.
I was about to say we were late there, and
Chad Moore's there
bad
for
coaching.
Yep.
It set us back big time.
We hired him as an offensive coordinator.
That didn't help y'all as far as getting set back either, because that dude is a program ruiner. I don't know how he did good things at Clemson, because everywhere he went after that was
rough.
Yeah, but with that said, that was our breakdown. We're live every Wednesday and Sunday for our recaps. So that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Hogs on the Hill. We'll be right back here with you guys on Sunday, recapping what we hope is an Arkansas victory on the road. Until next time.